very happy Thanksgiving weekend to all of you, and welcome, of course, to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network's Market Fresh Hour. I'm your host, Randall White. It's now 33 minutes past the hour, and I certainly hope that you're enjoying your holiday weekend. Got your fill of all the good foods and that sort of thing. If you haven't, I should let you in on our sponsor for the week. This portion of Eat, Drink, Explore Media's Market Fresh, brought to you by Sidecar Restaurant in downtown San Luis Obispo. I mean, in the heart of the downtown. It's on Broad between Higuera and Marsh Streets. Stop in, see the friendly staff at Sidecar, and check out their upper lips and even the sides of their heads right now as they celebrate Movember in their attempt to raise awareness for men's health issues, especially prostate and testicular cancers. Mo being mustache, and also in their case, some of them are taking it a step further and they're doing mohawks. So even some of the women that work there have jumped on board, and I got to tell you, they've done it with some panache. So good for them. The food at Sidecar, always fresh, local, seasonal, and sustainable, often grown at small family farms right here on the Central Coast. Find Sidecar Restaurant online at sidecarslo.com and let them know you heard about their great restaurant and their Movember presentation on the radio. Okay, I don't know if you are up to speed on this year's Wine Star Awards, put out annually by Wine Enthusiast magazine, one of the big ones. But I want to draw your attention to one of the winners announced a couple of weeks ago under the category 2013 Wine Region of the Year. Now, keep in mind, the Wine Star Awards do not just consider California, nor the U.S. These are global awards, and there are a lot of wine regions around the world, correct? The winner for the category this year is the Paso Robles region. That's pretty remarkable. The magazine's editors say they picked Paso Robles because, quote, the region has reinvigorated itself with new blood, creativity, and rapidly improving wines. I would have to agree. One person who would absolutely not argue with this selection is our next guest, Sammy Papert. He's the maker of Caldera Cuvée. It's a blended red, including almost half Cabernet Sauvignon, more than a third Merlot, and the remaining amount Cabernet Franc. You can find them online at calderacuvee.com. Welcome to Market Fresh, Sammy.
Great to be here.
Oh, let me put your mic up. Okay, now you can say that again. Sorry about that. Oh, and you know what? Hold on one second. There we go. I put the mic in front of you. That would help. All right, let me try this all over again. Welcome to Market Fresh, Sammy.
Great to be here. How you doing?
There we go. I can hear you loud and clear. Fantastic. I'm doing well. Now, it's your belief that the Paso Robles wine growing region not only has the attributes that the editors of Wine Enthusiast point out there, but it has the best combination of climate, geology, and geography in the world, the terroir. And you say there are university studies that can back that up.
Yes, I can. First of all, I do believe it's one of the finest growing regions in the world. And what makes so much sense to me is that you actually prove that.
Yeah.
You don't build a house without checking the ground below you. Why should you plant hundreds and thousands of acres of vines without knowing what's below you?
Right.
And Cal Poly right here has done a lot of studies. There is a book written by Dr. Tom Rice called An American Terroir, the Paso Robles Appellation, which has got a couple of iterations thus far. He's done this is about a 10-year-old book, a very exhaustive study, deep dives into several of the wineries in the region. And it's that science that drives me to truly believe this is one of the finest regions in the world.
What do they pinpoint it now? Your wine, which I have a bottle of right here, it's a beautiful label, which if we have time, we'll get to the meaning behind that. But it's called Caldera Cuvée because where these grapes are grown is in an ancient volcano's caldera, right?
Yeah, it's the actual technical name of the vineyard is Spring Hill Farm Vineyards. Its primary winery is Carmody McKnight. You may know of that one. And not only are there the fantastic sedimentary soils that are so good for wines that have become limestone over the years, there was a caldera, a collapsed cone of a volcano. 25 million years ago, there was a volcano there. And it's the combination of the igneous magma and the limestone that makes a really, really unique wine growing region. And Caldera Cuvée is a volcano, and then blend. Blend is in French, cuvée means tank or vat technically, but it is also kind of means blend in this country.
Now, some of the other big wine growing regions in the state, like Napa, Sonoma, the North Coast and such, do they have the same mix of soil, or we just have it in a...
They will have some of the some soils, and clearly there is some discussion around this point. All right, so
All right.
One man's opinion, and I'm absolutely drinking the Paso Kool-Aid right now. I think it's fantastic here.
I'm going to drink some of the Paso Kool-Aid later tonight in the form of Caldera Cuvée. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait to hear what you think. Yes, there are other fine growing regions, but this is one of the few regions in the world where you get that limestone, the hills, huge swings in the daily temperature between 30 and 50 degrees, which grapes love.
Yeah.
And there's only one or two regions in the world that have that unique combination to create this fantastic terroir.
And boy, this last harvest season, we really had those cool overnights and warm, almost hot days. It was perfect, according to all the vintners in the area.
Almost to a winery or vintner or vineyard best harvest in ages. And all you had to do was look at the grapes on the vine and say, this is going to be special. So I can't wait to have a chance to get my teeth into this.
Yes. Well, anyone listening can detect probably by the sound of your voice a hint of maybe the Texas accent in there. You were a visitor to the region.
Correct.
Fell in love with its wine atmosphere and the terroir, like we were discussing, to the point where you decided to move out here and blend up your own wine.
That's absolutely correct, and it was wine that brought us here. We drank a bottle of Justin Isosceles 97 the night my wife and I got engaged. 6 months later, because we sprinted to the altar, we drank that wine at our wedding. And I said, let's go to Paso and check out the region. So we rented a house on Moonstone Beach Drive. How can you resist?
Oh, Cambria.
In Cambria. And stopped off at Justin to see where this wine we drank at our wedding came from. And as we left, we took the very first next vineyard next to Justin is Cabernet Franc, and that's where the roots of the Caldera Cuvée came from. I ultimately met the proprietors, and they're my partners in this endeavor.
Yeah. And so what you do then, and this is something that people listening might gain something from. I didn't realize you could do this. You then contacted them and said, hey, instead of growing your own grapes and that sort of thing, you said, hey, I want to buy some of the wine that you've made and then blend it myself into what you now have here, the Caldera Cuvée.
Right. So the truth be told, it was their idea that they had extra capacity. They knew that I was a big fan of their wine. I joined their club immediately. I thoroughly enjoy Gary and Marion. And we hatched this idea 2 or 3 years after my first visit, and I said, I'll take some extra capacity. And it turns out it was the 09, and ultimately made 112 cases of 09, and that's the 3 varietals they had, because they sometimes have Petit Verdot as well. The 3 Bordeaux varietals they had were the Cab Franc, and the Merlot.
And you did one email blast and have sold a number of cases, and so far it's all thumbs up?
Well, first of all, I fully expected my dear Texas friends to give it a try. What the key will be whether they come back, right?
Right.
But indeed, we sold 30 or 40 cases with the email blast. I do have a very small retail presence at the Black Cat Bistro in Cambria and at the Madeleine's Wine Shop in Cambria. Thankfully, the reviews have been off the charts, and 6 to a dozen reorders already. So
wow.
I'm blessed that my palate, because I blended it to my palate, is something my friends thus far, and maybe their friends too, I hope, really like.
What is it with so you see this a lot with blends. They're heavy Cabernet Sauvignon, and then Cabernet Franc always seems to be just a small percentage. What is it about Cabernet Franc that adds a nice element, but you don't want it to overpower?
Well, Very few wineries are making a standalone Cab Franc. Turns out Cabernet Franc does on occasion. It adds a wonderful color, so it's a deep, rich, purpley color. So a lot of wines use Cab Franc to add the color, but it also sometimes smooths out the big, bold cabs.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes that is what the vintner is looking for. I confess I'm not quite clever enough to know those distinctions.
Right.
I simply systematically went through those three varietals and a whole bunch of different permutations to find one that I really thought rocked, and that's where we ended up with the blend we have.
When I was visiting you the last time, we were both talking about when I go wine tasting, I don't spit it out, but I said you had to have spit it out in this case because you were trying so many variations of the different blends. By the time you got to the second or even third one, your palate would have just been mush.
Correct. But we spent a fair amount of time, again, systematically going through these three varietals to come up with a blend that I got excited about. Even after we got to one, I was excited. Let's do it again in a week.
Right.
After my palate has rested, and the wine obviously is very different each time you revisit it. And I loved what we ended up with.
So you're planning to do it again, possibly if there's another overrun by the same winery?
The jury
would you call it an overrun? They produced too much that they couldn't use.
No, I think they like. I don't know if they call it overrun. Quite frankly, I think they just have extra capacity that I think they like an additional source. For their wine.
All right. Well, Sammy Papert, his Caldera Cuvée, you can get it now online. Go to Caldera Cuvée. That's with 2 A's.com for more. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone, stick around. We're back in just a moment.